Yeah, but you said yes to Jesus. You said, and then it takes you to China. Now, I've told God many times. I say, God, I'm ready to go wherever you want me to go.
But it's only A, B, and C.
It better be in the USA because I am not ready to cross any sort of geographical lines or dialect lines or anything like that, because I look at missionary work as some of the hardest work in the world. You're walking into an unknown place, an unknown culture, speaking an unknown language to talk about Jesus. Like, look, God, can't you sign up Christian guy in that city to do this? Like, look, I live in St. Louis. I'll be the St. Louis guy. I'll be the, it's some of the hardest work. And you've told me so many stories off the air of like how like the toilet system works and how, there's buckets involved at times. And I'm like,
Squatty potties.
yeah, and that is not something that I'm ready to sign up for. Jesus, I love you. I don't know if I love you bucket pooping enough, but so I always measure, like, when I see you guys, I'm like, I got to put something in the bucket. So what's like you shared some already. So what is some of the hardship that a missionary goes through that you've experienced as far as like the conditions?
Well, the condition, like once you just get used to live sort of a different way with these different conditions, yes, you miss the normal things, but you kind of just get used to it. The harder part is more family related. If you miss your family, of course you miss there's certain moments where you're like, man, if I could have an Emo's pizza and some toasted wraps and some Ted Drews right now, my world would be much better, because I'm tired of rice, or I'm tired of this, or I'm tired of that. I don't know. For me, the conditions, it's kind of like, it's just camping, but really, really worse,
Yeah.
And so it's we don't have everything we need. And I've done it so much and been to so many places that it's just kind of just roll with the punches, make it work. I mean, being in Mozambique and no running water at times.
Oh my goodness.
You can't wash your clothes, and when you do wash them, you got to wash them by hand, which isn't great.
Yeah.
But
they stay wet for a while too.
Yeah, then you got to hang them up to dry, and then of course you never get them that clean because you're doing it by hand. But the no running water, so now like, we need to filter water to drink it, or we can't take a shower, or I can turn this shower on for 10 seconds, get wet, turn it off, lather up. So it's not like, dude, when I take a shower, I want to put on the music.
Yes.
I want the hot water.
Steam it up.
I want it to be peaceful. Even yesterday, I'm in there, and the Lord like spoke to me about a few things related to ministry, like I needed to hear, but for some reason in there, it's just like this place where I can hear from God. But now I'm in Africa, and I turn it on for 10 seconds, and it's freezing. And then I got to turn it off, and I lather up, and it's like, okay, I'm going to turn it on for 20 more seconds to rinse off, and that's it. That's it. It's not even.
They don't put this in the pamphlet.
No, this isn't in the training that you're going to do that at best, or the bucket shower. You're going to take the scoop, dip it in the bucket, pour it over you. The latrines, as you referenced, at night, if you shine the light down in that hole, you're going to see a lot of stuff.
Oh my goodness.
Moving, shaking.
Oh my gosh, the bugs and the vermin are down there.
Exactly, but you got to have the light, and all the bugs and the whole thing are attracted.
Something's crawling up your leg all of a sudden.
You feel every moment. You feel like it is.
God.
There's been times the latrines have broke because they're just made out of bamboo, and people have fallen down in.
Oh,
they've had to pull them out.
No, they
had to pull them out of the latrine.
Poor Bob.
And strip them naked in the village.
Bob from Nevada.
And hose them down.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's happened.
This is not in the video.
In front of the whole village. There's been times I'm eating food in a mud hut, and there's first you watched them kill the goat, and you heard them kill the goat, and it's hanging from a tree, and then later that night you got to eat the goat because they killed this thing for you, and it's their best, and you're in a little mud hut, and there's a pot of goat sitting there,
a pot of goat,
and it's the whole goat, so everything is chopped up and everything is in that pot, and there's a light above the pot so you can see and eat, and they're going to let you eat first because you're the guest of honor.
Yeah.
But because the light is above the pot, all the termites are collecting to the light. And as you're eating the goat, John, the termites are falling into the pot of the goat that you got to eat. And so you're getting a lot of extra protein.
That's a good way to look at it.
That's not in the manual either. But honor is in the manual.
Yeah, sure.
And you have to honor the people. And if you need to throw up later, or if your stomach does other things later, and you got to go to that latrine that you don't want to see,
and you don't want to fall in at night,
then you deal with some stuff. But You know you're called to it, and you know you're supposed to be there.
No. God, don't call me to that. I'm fine in St. Louis. I want to be able to just sit here in my nice comfy house, and I feel like, God, this is how I pray for y'all. Lord, thank you for the real Christians. Thank you for the real Christians that'll go out into the mission field. And thank you that not only will they suffer the humiliation of being hosed off from falling in the poop latrine, while all the foreign little kids laugh and point.
Yeah.
Not only will they do that, Lord, thank you that they will raise their own funds, that they will ask everyone they know to pay for this trip because no one else is paying for it. Like, it's crazy. Like, the mission style is like, hey, we're going on a missions trip to Africa. We need you to raise $3,000 so you can go.
Yeah, and I need some zip-off pants. I need some wick-away shirts. Hey, I want to pray for you, though, because this is for you. You're like, hey, as those poor missionaries are over there ministering to 10 people in the village,
yeah,
Lord, I thank you that I get to sit here in the comfort of my awesome studio, and on a microphone, I can reach hundreds and thousands of people via media. God, I thank you that I'm a media missionary to the nations while these foolish people raise all this money. And in a moment, I can turn this off and I can go sit at my table and eat whatever I want.
Oh, yes.
I go jump in my pool.
Yeah, and then make some food for my kids and they won't eat it. Yeah, it's when I hear stories like what you just told me, it makes me so thankful for what I have and so thankful for what God has brought into my life. As just an American, like the luxuries that we have, are so incredible compared to other nations.
Even being at, let's put it even like this: you're at a restaurant, right? And it's a nicer place somewhere overseas, but a lot of places don't have ice.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
it's
I've been
hot.
to Mexico like that.
It's hot, and you're like, oh, they got the good Coca-Cola because it's got the cane sugar in it.
Cane sugar, bro.
So it just hits different, and it's great. And you're
glass bottle.
Yeah, and you need that little boost. And you're eating this awesome chicken with this garlic sauce on it and these fries they call chips, and it's amazing. And you go to drink your Coke, and it's lukewarm, and you want that thing to be ice cold because it's 90 degrees outside.
Yeah,
but there's no ice, and if there was ice, you wouldn't be able to eat it or drink it because it's made from water. It's going to make you sick anyway.
Yeah, dude. The idea that people sign up to do this, that you have signed, Kurt Wilson himself says, you know what, Jesus, thank you for saving me. I will go wherever you call me. And then Jesus points to this map. He sends you to China.
I went to China on a short-term trip when I was in college, and I said, I will never go to China again.
Oh, no, what happened?
I don't like it. It's not for me. I don't enjoy the culture as much. I don't enjoy the food as much.
Don't like sushi no much. Yeah.
Just all the stuff, right? And then what do? I end up there for 2 years.
Well, you can't tell God what you don't want to do. That's what I say all the time. I'm like, I've told him many times that I don't want to be a missionary, and it's my deep-seated fear in the back of my mind that, oh my gosh, one day he's gonna call me, and I'm gonna have to go to some Guatemala. My wife has been on many missions trips to Guatemala and other places. Praise God for all y'all. This is not my style. I am a stay-at-home kind of guy, and you guys signed up for this. And so not only did you sign up for Guatemala, but you were interesting. Like, you got hooked up with Iris, and you ended up in Mozambique and Africa, and you've been all over the place.
Yeah, I've been to so many different places and nations. You never set out thinking like, I'm going to go to all these places. It's just opportunities come up, different seasons, or, and again, like, missions has been more about what God has done in me.
Oh, that's a good word.
Than what I've done for other people. I've been saying it like this: missions is more about obedience than outcome. And it's the same here in ministry. Like in North City, what we're doing, like it's about the obedience. We show up, but God has done so much in me, in my character, in my development, and what I need and what I don't need, and how He provides and how I think I need to provide. Just the whole thing. It's made me a better Jesus follower. It's made me a better husband, father, all those things, because I've just been in this place where I can't control things. I can't do it on my own. I can't figure it out. Like you said, man, any cross-cultural situation, you got to learn language. You got to learn culture.
Yep.
You don't even, like, here's another one. Just a simple example of like what we were talking about before. You go to brush your teeth, right?
Uh-oh.
But you can't brush it with the water that's local unless your stomach gets used to it, because you'll probably get sick. So you got to have like bottled water.
That Montezuma's revenge, right?
Yeah, exactly. To put on your toothbrush to brush your teeth, and you got to rinse with that as well. Just all these things, like, you have to think so much harder instead of just getting up, stumbling in the bathroom, half asleep.
Oh yeah.
And brushing your teeth or making your coffee.
Yeah.
Similar thing. You can't just go put your tap water, fill up your kettle, make the AeroPress like I do every morning. Yeah, there's all these things
The coffee connoisseur.
Exactly.
You got to have the luxuries now that you're back.
Costco, man. We coffee at Costco. So
this is how I know you're the real deal, though, Kurt, is because you see the memes and stuff on social media nowadays, like people going to mission trips with church to get their selfie picture. You know,
Yeah.
like they've done a good job and all this. Like you were doing this before there was the cell phone picture, before there was Instagram. So that's how I know. Like when you're in the middle of the mud, in the hut, in the latrines and all that, and there ain't not a camera in sight, and you just decided to, you know, pack up your things, get over there, and just help however you can, whatever it looks like, whether it's ministering, handing out tracts, building something. I'm sure you've done a number of different projects.
I've almost done everything
Yeah.
under the sun. You know, different missions training schools, physical church buildings, evangelism, discipleship, kids programs, and every village feeding, just everything in between. You know, and I think it just, I don't know, in America we sometimes like, oh, I'm called to this. Like this, it's like so small and niche. You know, it's like I'm called to this little piece of the puzzle. But that's why I love missions in the sense like it's all hands on deck.
Yeah.
Like everybody's going to do whatever it takes because there's no one else to do it. There is no one else to do it. There isn't the children's ministry coming in to do this part and the people setting up the building and then the media ministry and then the ushers and the greeters and the parking lot. Like, no, like you're it. Like if you're gonna feed like 5,000 to 10,000 kids for a Christmas event, like you're gonna be doing some stuff you never did before. You might be in the kitchen, you might be carrying food, you might be doing security because these kids want to, you know, jump the line and get food and they don't want to wait. You don't know what you're gonna do. So it's a humbling because there is no glory in it, and I'm not taking the selfie.
Right.
I'm not writing the newsletter to get anything. I'm just showing up and doing
dude, let's talk about that for a minute. So people don't know this about you, but I do, and I'm going to bring it up. Is that missionaries often ask for money to raise money to go on trips, and oftentimes you might be familiar with it at your church or something where, like, you know, Susie teenager, you know, has decided that, you know, youth group's going to go on a week-long mission trip. It's not really calling. It's more of a, hey, we're going to go do this thing. And maybe they hit grandma up for a couple $100 so they can go to, you know,
write a letter to
their friends or whatever.
Email probably now, but it used to be letter.
Yeah, and so people probably have, you know, that's their touch point on this kind of thing, right? So, but what you're doing is different, or what you have done, because you're doing something sort of different now. But what you have done in the past is that you've gone and done the mission work, but you have relied, and I don't know if this is an Iris model or a Kurt model.
Yeah.
You've relied entirely by faith that God is going to supply you without being sort of outgoing in terms of your fundraising efforts. So you have lived not only an interesting life in terms of where you've been, but you've lived an interesting life in terms of financially how you make things work and how your trust in God supports that life. And so talk to me what it's like to live without knowing where that paycheck's going to come from or where the money's going to supply the need.
Yeah, so we have lived a by faith model, which you know, there's different models, and I'm for whatever, you know, there's different biblical models, I would say.
Yeah.
And so not everyone has to do what we've done, but running with Iris over the years, Iris Global, it's a by faith. Hey, God's going to provide. Like if God's called you to this, then he's going to show up, and like it's one of the core values is like we need the supernatural in everyday life, and part of the supernatural is God's provision. Don't worry about the birds. Don't worry about this. Like God's got you. He's going to show up for you. And for them, part of that came from George Mueller did that. He brought in orphans and he lived by faith.
Okay.
And often they'd be sitting down to have a meal at lunch, let's say, and he's got all these kids there, but there'd be no food. There'd literally be no food to eat. And he would pray and he'd just say, God, I just thank you for this food that's going to come. And there'd be a knock on the door and someone would provide food right then and there. And for years, his ministry was sustained like that. And Iris has been sustained like that for, I think, like 30 years, where God just shows up. It's a dependence on him. It's kind of like if he doesn't do it, we got nothing. And so in that, we've been in a different, like, personal journey of that. And so it was, when you're overseas, it's easier because you can't work, right? You can't work overseas.
Yeah.
And so you're in Africa, and people say, oh, man, they're going to Africa. They're feeding the kids. They're doing this. We're going to give them money. We're going to support them monthly. We're going to give them, you know, whatever. And so we do an awareness of what we're doing. Like, hey, we're going here. We're doing this. But we don't ask. We don't. But it's really freeing because I'm not meeting someone to get something from someone. So whether it's you as a friend, I'm not like our relationship now isn't like, oh, I'm friends with John and he's got a great job. So can I get some money out of him?
Yeah, we all know those people who,
Or
hit you up.
Or, someone just connected me to this really rich businessman,
Yeah.
and we have zero relationship. I don't even know if he believes in me or my family or the mission, but I'm going to jump over all that just so I can get something out of him because I need to pay for this thing, right? And so when we
That's
first
tough.
were going 10 years ago to Iris, to the Harvest School of Missions, I was not in this frame of mind that I am now, because I'd been paid to do missions before. In college, I sent out letters and to get support for my short-term trips. But here it was in 2012. I'm going overseas. I need all this money. So I like to call it, I had the whiteboard of doom.
What's that?
So I had a white dry erase board, and I put shots, this much money, renew passport, this much money, airfare, this much money, clothes, this much money, whatever it was. And I had all the stuff broken down, and I began to think, okay, so-and-so can give me this, and so-and-so can give me that, and I can do this job over here, and I can figure it out. And what I realized in that, I was trying to make it happen myself. And I was stressing about it. It was really difficult. So eventually we're overseas for, 2-3 years back and forth, and we're just trusting God and he provides. Then we come back to the States, and at different times I worked part-time jobs or ministry jobs or secular jobs or whatever you want to say. And so there was some kind of income. But in 2018, we stepped out finally for the first time ever as a family in America by faith. Just how we done in Africa. And it was not easy.
Different walk.
At all. But there was something in me on the ministry side of things that I knew I need more time to do ministry over here. I don't know exactly I know what I'm called to do, but I don't know how to do it yet, but I need the time to figure it out. And I can't do it if I'm working still, any other job. So with our second child being 6 weeks old and leaving a job that I got paid more money than I ever made in my life, we stepped out by faith to be missionaries to St. Louis, which we'd already been, but that's how we view ourselves. And not enough monthly support, no support of a local church at that point.
Yeah.
But actually the first people to support us, and they didn't even, I don't think they knew what we were doing. They just believed in what we were doing, were some of our Africa friends, or some of our missionary friends in Africa.
That's funny.
So they're over there, and they don't have enough money to do what they're doing. And they're feeding kids, and they're rescuing women out of sex trafficking, and they're building stuff. And the Lord speaks to them, hey, we want you to encourage Kurt and Brooke, because, living by faith as a missionary in America, people always think, well, why? Because you could get a job. But again, if you have the job, you don't have time to do what he's called you to do.
Sure.
So they said, hey, we're going to give you some money this month. We don't have it for ourselves, but we don't have it for ourselves anyway, so we're going to give it to you. We want to just encourage you. And this is right at the time we're stepping out by faith.
Oh, my goodness.
So they give us an amount of money, and we're encouraged. Of course, it isn't enough, right? So it's like daily, almost moment by moment dependence on the Lord. And from there, the next month, they sent money again, because it was going to be for a few months or whatever it was. Every month they'd send a certain amount. And the next month, they sent us money, and it was 10 times what they sent us the month before.
Whoa.
So immediately, Facebook message, hey, I think you put an extra 0 on that. And they got back to me and they said, no, we didn't. When we gave to you, the Lord blessed us like, 10 or 15 or 20 times.
Oh, wow.
And so we wanted to sow that back into you this time.
Holla.
So
Jesus.
that was sort of the beginning, but man, it was, we lived like that for 3 years, but then God provided other ways miraculously for our ministry, which we still live by faith because we don't ask. And there's been one generous person that's basically funded the last 2 years of our ministry, and a lot of what we've done was pray for the Lou. And so we're still by faith. But for 3 years, we had no clue where it was coming. There were times it was lean. There were times it was difficult.
Yeah.
We had friends that would do things like buy memberships to certain things for the kids. So like, a year at the Magic House. So as a parent, it's kind of like, well, I can go without, but I want my kids to have something.
Oh.
So now it's like, for the next year, we got a free membership to the Magic House because this person blessed us. So there's all these little things. Cars. Our car, we got given a car during this because we only had one car. We needed two. So for a couple of years, we had an SUV that we really, really needed as our family grew. But then that car broke down, and it wasn't gonna make it any longer.
You have car problems.
And then someone else, family member, gave us another car to replace that car. So it isn't always
good.
like all the money's there. There were times of debt, but then it got paid off, and it's just it's a faith journey, and we're still on it. To be honest, I'm thankful now at the moment to receive a salary for what I do, but it's not enough with everything going on in the world. Like we're still
inflation catches up to your
there's an element, there's still a large element of faith that we're trusting God, and it's year by year, because eventually the ministry funds will run out if the Lord doesn't come through, but he has in miraculous ways.
Yeah, you've got some great stories that I've heard over the years.